you guys are doing such a great job, putting the people together and whatnot. But like I had left in the comment, I don't know if you guys have read it or not, but how do you guys feel about unionizing with waste management, who's already have unions and whatnot? But I feel like I don't believe in a lot of things, but I do believe in a domino effect. Like I talk to a lot of people who work for waste management, and it's not that they are pissed about the UPS getting a better contract. I would say that they are more jealous, and a lot of anger is misplaced. So, because everybody, oh, you just picking a package, you doing this and that. We're around hazardous stuff, and how do you feel about uh, targeting waste management and getting them to strike around the same time as UPS? Because if we can stop UPS, we know their power was, especially with smaller businesses or even some big businesses and whatnot. If we can get them to stop and we can get our other brothers and sisters to stop picking up their shit, I think we can really, get our point across faster. If that makes sense.
Basically solidarity with other sort of vital unions. What do you think? I mean, I think that's what you're. Go ahead if you were gonna.
No. I was going to say I'll come in, but maybe Steve as a UPS rank and file, if you want to respond first.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I appreciate what's being said there. I mean, like, it really is important that all different sections of the labor movement recognize what this is. I mean, and we need to do our part in helping to make that point to the rest of the labor movement as Teamsters, because it is like a strong, unified labor movement that makes any given strike or contract battle or unionizing effort so much more strong, so much more capable, makes the road, easier. Like the Democratic Party wants to pretend is possible, and so forth. And so, and I think waste management is an incredibly important job as well. There's so many, not just hard, dirty, difficult jobs, which they're that too, but also jobs with this enormous social weight, choke point jobs that if those things stop, it affects larger sections of the economy. Obviously logistics, obviously rail is an example. And then with something like waste management, same thing. I mean, we were just talking about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and it's the case that, late in his life, right before his assassination, he was organizing waste management workers and very much recognizing verbally the need for a class struggle based on workers coming together. And so I think it's like in this very moment, can't be our priority to try to do this, but I think the waste management workers and any workers could come and bring solidarity. And then once this is over, I think that, and even in the meantime, Workers Strike Back wants to play an ongoing role in fighting wherever workers need support in building, in their locals or nationwide, and how we can sort of build this and coalesce the strongest movement that builds really powerful fighters, militant fighters with a strong political strategy. And I think waste management is ripe to be unionized where it is not, and it should be something that's very much on the working class's mind.
And if I could just add a few thoughts to that, I think it's important to raise this question. And just to add to what Steve was saying, the bottom line is, and this should be the bottom line in the for the working class as a whole, which is, the labor movement's saying is an injury to one is an injury to all. Another way of saying that is that all workers deserve high standards of living. That's the society we are aspiring to. And the logic of the labor movement, if you look at history, and this should come about, the understanding should come about instinctively as workers as well, which I think it does. I think a lot of workers understand this, which is that if one section of the working class wins a decisive victory, that is actually a huge boost for the working class as a whole. One is because overall it boosts, it raises the confidence and the energy level among workers, because we feel that, well, if they can win, we can win that too. And also, because it puts fear in the ruling class. They understand that if they make one concession, then they're going to have to make other concessions as well, which is why they fight tooth and nail on conceding to even minor things. Like, workers might wonder, why are the UPS bosses being so stingy about at least putting air conditioning in the trucks? Why are they denying us at least a federal $15 minimum wage? Why is it so hard? Because it'll cost them just pocket change. In reality, if you look at it mathematically, that question is not fully answered. You have to understand the political economy of capitalism, and that's when you understand that for them, any concession, the logic points to more concessions, because any concession that working class is able to wrench from the ruling class, that points towards more concessions. So the ruling class is going to be, the bosses are going to be very, very reluctant to giving anything. But by the same token, all of us workers should support any section of our working class that is fighting for something, because if they can win something, then it actually points the way forward for us as well. So I think it is important for us to really really explain that in a very patient and friendly manner, and it's helping the waste management workers understand, which I am fully confident that they will, if we can engage in that conversation and dialogue. That is why an organization like Workers Strike Back is so important, because it doesn't matter which union you belong to, or if you don't have a union at all in your workplace, Workers Strike Back is a home for you if you want to fight back. And all of us coming together across sector, across union, is what exactly we need, because it's when we stand in solidarity together that we can win something. And in fact, a little bit of a history lesson is also in order when these questions come up, and that's why labor history and sharing historical lessons is so crucial. Taking analysis and history seriously in the labor movement is crucial, because otherwise we miss what already, the lessons that already have been shared, which is one of the things to point out is when workers feel this way, that's the boss's argument. The boss's argument is divide and conquer strategy. That it's always been this way. They always point to, when workers fight, when any section of the working class fight for something better, they tell them, look, you're better off than this other worker. This was the bedrock of the Jim Crow era. This was the bedrock of slavery. White workers who were treated like crap and were exploited were told, you're better off than the black workers. Why? Because that was to prevent any kind of solidarity between black workers and white workers. The same arguments were made to break up the white working class from the immigrant working class, Chinese, German, Polish, Irish workers from the white workers and from black workers. And in fact, this also points towards the kind of labor leadership we need, because a lot of the betrayals by the business unionist leaders, by the corrupt labor leaders who went along with that kind of division, those labor leaders had to be overcome. That type of bad leadership had to be overcome by the rank and file. And so the formation of the Congress of Industrial Organization, the CIO, when we say AFL-CIO, that was automatic. The formation of the CIO was a huge progressive step forward, because that represented the rank and file of the union movement fighting to, for example, include black workers in the union movement, to fight against racism inside the labor movement itself. All of these points are extremely crucial to push back against the divide and conquer. And so, absolutely, we have to emphasize that emphasize the opposite of divisions, which is solidarity amongst ourselves.
Cedar, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No. We can go get to our closing if you like. No, that's all.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank them for answering that, because I talk to so many workers, and I actually have a handful of people out here that's willing, to reach out, but I don't have that. I do a different thing. I'm not really. I haven't had a job in a minute, so let alone know how to start a union. So I just wanted to put them in good hands more than anything, with people I know, people I trust, and that are doing good things in America. So, but I just want to thank y'all for that. Thank you.
And Kshama, you wanted to make a point about Biden and labor as well?
Yes, and actually, I was realizing one other point. I think it would be remiss if we didn't include in this conversation. Obviously, Carl and others, we brought up the important point about the war in Ukraine and the need for international working class solidarity and no to all imperialist war. All of those are really important points. And I think it would be remiss if we didn't point out how shameful it is that AOC and a big section of the progressive, supposed progressive democratic leadership has gone along with the war spending. This is absolutely shameful. And that's why it's so crucial that as we were, CJ, you, Nick, and me, and Jill Stein, we were talking earlier about how it's so important that Cornel West is running to represent the working class and the left as the anti-war candidate, because this is very important. We cannot allow Donald Trump, who is a dangerous reactionary, to grab the mantle as the anti-war candidate. And that's why it's so crucial that you have that. And in that context, for your labor event, I wanted to say it's also really shameful that a big section of the labor leadership has given just this ringing endorsement to Joe Biden. And this is in the wake of the utter betrayal of the railroad workers and the breaking of their strike. If this is not evidence of why we need organizations like Workers Strike Back and a revival of the militant rank and file leadership and pushing back against and defeating of the business unionist ideas, then I don't know what is. Because how is this a way forward for the union movement, for labor leaders like Liz Schuler, who's the head of AFL-CIO, giving this, really enthusiastic recommendation to Biden after all the selling out? I think the way forward has to be for the left has to be independent of the Democrats. But that fight also then implies, given the role of the labor leadership, a big section of the labor leadership in any case, that given that the fight for the independent party for the working class, that fight has to take place inside the union movement as well.